Hi, I'm Officer Gomez. I am a school resource officer in Idaho. Today I'm going to be talking to parents about what they need to know about kids and alcohol. A lot of parents are familiar with alcohol, but are you familiar with what kids are doing today in alcohol? So I'm just going to do a little catch up and a little bit of information on things you might know or might not know. I get a lot of questions about alcohol and regarding whether kids are using it as much as they used to, or are they just hiding it better? Do more people drive so we don't see the alcohol use that we used to see? In reality, kids are not using alcohol that much. Studies have shown that a good percentage of kids are not hooked on alcohol. They're not doing alcohol daily. In fact, about 79% of kids in a recent study said they hadn't had alcohol in the last 30 days. That's great news, but we still can work on it and make it a little better. So here's a few other things you need to know about alcohol. Kids are mostly using alcohol at special events. So graduations, birthday parties, bonfires on the lake, and going out to the mountains and having big parties. That's where kids are using alcohol more than other places. Are a few kids bringing alcohol to school? There are a few, but it is not as popular as some of the other things that kids are bringing to school these days. What's different these days than in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s is that kids are using alcohol and adding prescription pills to it. Prescription pills are readily available, from friends, from other sources, and kids are drinking alcohol and having pills at the same time. Now, what pills are they using? There's not really a standard pill that kids are using with alcohol. Kids are more opportunistic when it comes to pills they're using with alcohol. But if you take a depressant, which is the alcohol, and a stimulant pill, you might not feel as drunk as you really are, which might cause you to drive or do some other things that your body and your brain might not be used to. And some pills mixed with alcohol can cause a whole host of problems, which could end up in the hospital or even worse. One issue I see in high school already that a lot of parents aren't really counting on yet is the date rape drugs that some people use with alcohol. So if a high school kid goes to a party, and this could be boy or girl, they could be easily handed a drink with a date rape drug in it. Now, the two most popular date rape drugs that I'm seeing in the schools are, roofies, which is Rofinol, and GHB. GHB is gamma hydroxybutyric acid. I know that's a big mouthful, but just know it as GHB. Now, this is really, it gets given to teenagers, sometimes in college as well. And, we have sexual assaults that take place without the kid knowing what is happening to them or not having full control of their brain or their body functions to be able to stop these assaults. As far as what's new in schools, it might not be so new, but there is a homemade alcohol that kids make in school, and it's called lean. And they take a soda, some hard candy, and some cough medicine, and they mix it up in a cup. It's usually a 7-Eleven cup, and they drink it during class. Now, this is really rare in Idaho that we see this, but we have seen it in a couple schools in Idaho, so I'd like to let parents know, just in the off chance that you might come across it. Idaho consequences for kids and alcohol. The biggest one you need to know about is the MIP or MIC, minor in possession, minor in consumption of alcohol. If police show up at a party and kids are there consuming alcohol, it is a $487.50 citation. And police can print those out pretty quickly, so it's not uncommon for police to go to a party and issue 10, 15 MIP citations. I mean, $487.50, it's a chunk of change here. So that's an expensive thing, especially for a kid, and usually the families end up having to help kids pay that off. The second one we want parents to know about is if you are hosting a party at your house and kids are drinking alcohol, you could be charged with a misdemeanor under the party host law. Now, being charged with a misdemeanor is one thing. If some child has alcohol at your house, leaves drunk, and gets in an accident, now we're talking a whole different issue with some very serious charges for providing alcohol that could possibly hurt somebody. So we don't want that to happen to anybody. Please don't let children drink at your house, which, again, is not something that commonly happens here in Idaho. Signs of use. I get a lot of parents who say, "Hey, Officer Gomez, how will I know if my kid is drinking alcohol at parties? How will I know if they're being, if they're taking alcohol at school or doing something on trips that they're taking?" This is a tough question, and some kids hide it better than others. Some kids are just doing it once ever. Some kids start doing it weekly or maybe even nightly. So how do you catch them? With almost any kind of substance that might be misused, what you're going to look for as a parent is changes in attitude, changes in behavior, changes in hygiene, changes in friends. Those are all clues that should trigger a parent to look further into what's going on with their kids. Now, if you have a teenager, you know that they fluctuate greatly with their attitude, right? In the morning time, you'll have, a princess come out of her room, and then pretty soon it's Ms. Grumpy. 5 minutes later, it's like, what just happened? Now, normal fluctuation of teens is just fine. You know your teenagers better than anybody else. Pay attention to what they're doing, who they're doing it with, who their friends are, what they're acting like. And if something changes drastically, use your parental snooping skills and start figuring out what's going on with your teenager. The earlier on you figure this out, the easier it is to help them get past this. And there is a lot of help available to get over alcohol misuse or any other kind of misuse of substances. Now, what kind of resources are available for help? There are a lot of resources available, even for kids. So if you just go on their computer and type in, help.org, or type in anything with, Idaho and stop drinking, you're going to find a lot of resources. I always recommend you check multiple resources and see what they offer. And if you can find something in your local area where you guys can go in and maybe talk to a counselor and see what kind of plan best fits your needs and your issues, it's going to be the best way to stop and help your child get past this. The nice thing is that children are a little easier to work with than some adults who, have been set in their ways for a long time. But either kids or adults, let's make every effort we can to help them be as successful as they can be. Okay, here's a few tips for talking to your kids about substance misuse. Number one, tell your kids you disapprove of misusing drugs and alcohol. If they know that it's against what you believe and what you want them to do, it's going to help them when the option comes up for them to possibly drink alcohol or take a drug that they shouldn't be taking. Show your kid you care about them. When you're having conversations with your kid, tell them why you don't want them to do drugs. Tell them why you care about them so much. Tell them what you want from their future. Tell them the things that are important to you and your family so that they understand why you're making some of the decisions you're making and why you're telling them not to do drugs or alcohol. Establish yourself as a trustworthy source. That means doing a little research on drugs and alcohol before you speak with your kid about it. If you come at your kid with some crazy, saying, hey, if you drink alcohol, it's going to make your, big pinky toe fall off, or something crazy that isn't true, your kid's going to just dismiss you very quickly. So do some research, talk to them as a human being, and talk to them as a smart human being that has reasoning capabilities and can listen to your reasonable action items you have for them not to drink or do drugs. Show your kids you are paying attention. Hey, this means, hey, I notice you have some new friends. I notice you have good grades. I notice, hey, you seem happier this week. You seem sadder this week. Let's pay attention to our kids. This is one of your biggest jobs as a parent. Pay attention to your kids. They like to know that parents care about them and are watching and are helping them. If you're just kind of spying in the background or just berating everything they do, they're not going to like that very much. So let's enjoy our kids. That's the best, funnest thing to do anyway. So pay attention to them. Let them know you care about them. Build your child's strategies for saying no to alcohol and drugs. This means, hey, let's talk through a bonfire party where some cute person might come up to them and offer them drugs or offer them alcohol. Let's talk to them about the first college party where somebody's going to offer them, hey, here's some alcohol, have this because it's super fun, right? And this includes tabletop discussions. Hey, what are you going to do in this situation? How are you going to handle it? And these talks need to start in middle school. Your middle school child, hey, what's going to happen when somebody offers you a vape? What's going to happen when somebody offers you to have a drink of their Gatorade that they're passing around the class and you know there's something wrong with it? And it should be, hey, here's the strategies. And a lot of the strategies, especially with younger kids, is, no, my parents really check out what I do. They are paying attention to what I do. And I don't want to disappoint them by doing something that I'm not supposed to. I'm Officer Gomez. Thanks for watching my little talk. I will have some extra information down in the comments. And stay tuned for some other videos. We're going to go over some other popular teen drugs to help parents catch up with what's happening today.